When I go shopping, I expect retailers to offer the complete package: integrated online and in-store experiences, access to products when and how I want, personalized recommendations, easy returns and exchanges, and of course, perks and rewards. And I'm not alone. Today's shoppers expect exceptional experiences, and modern retailers know it. That's why brands like Pandora, Alice & Olivia, and Blue Mercury have trusted KWI to drive sales for over 30 years. KWI continues that tradition by delivering retail's only true modular omnichannel platform, designed for turnkey implementation and industry-leading white glove support. Shoppers are nice. Buyers are better. Visit kwi.com/tr.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, the editor-in-chief of Total Retail. I'm excited to be joined today by Donna Dozier Gordon, who is the head of inclusion and diversity for the Americas region at H&M. And Donna and I are going to be talking about the expansion of extended size offerings for products in the U.S. from H&M, as well as the partnership with Tess Holliday as the retailer's new size and inclusivity consultant. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. Thanks for joining me, Donna.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me.
So I just mentioned your title, but just for a little further background for the audience, I'd love for you to kind of tell us a little bit about your role at H&M.
Thanks, Joe. I've been at H&M just about 2 years, and I'm responsible for overseeing inclusion and diversity strategy for the region, which encompasses workforce initiatives, workplace initiatives, as well as initiatives, of course, to engage customers in the community.
So we're going to talk about the announcement of the inclusive and extended size assortment for both women's and men's apparel that was recently announced by H&M. So you kind of are involved in this as well. Tell us a little bit about why H&M has made this decision to extend its sizing.
Sure. So the commitment that we have to inclusion and diversity is holistic, which means that we're not only focused on driving a culture of inclusion for our workforce or for our colleagues, as we call them, but also delivering an inclusive customer experience. We are a Swedish company, as you know, but we operate globally. And we understand that with that, to be relevant in all of the markets in which we operate, we have to be locally relevant with our product assortment. So in the US, inclusive product offerings means we have to have larger sizes and curvier fits. And this is what our customers told us that they wanted.
So actually, it's a good follow-up in terms of my next question. You just mentioned that's what your customers told you they wanted. So talk a little about the role that feedback from your customers and the fashion community at large about size inclusivity. Tell us how that's factored into this decision to, as we noted, extend the size offerings that are now available at H&M.
Well, first, let me say that we have the aspiration of being the leading destination for style. And along with that, we are constantly seeking customer insights. I think one of the things that I would mention with respect to our commitment to inclusion and diversity is that we don't operate in a vacuum, and we're only as relevant as our customers perceive us to be. So with that, we want to make sure that we're keeping the customer first in our decision making. And the customers made it very clear that they wanted size inclusivity and that they also wanted to be able to find fashionable pieces in a range of sizes. So one example of that is we launched what we call curvy denim earlier this year. That's part of our divided area. And so far, this offering is really resonating with our customers.
So we're talking about the extended size for the product itself. How about, as you think about inclusivity, it's also the messaging of this to your customers and, you know, the advertisements they're seeing from H&M and the models that are used. Does that factor into this as well? And, you know, we've talked a little bit about product. How about some of that marketing and the messaging that's going out to consumers?
Absolutely. So we've been working on extended sizing, or, you know, we've kind of been on this journey for the past couple of years. And we've been gradually rolling the inclusive size offerings into the assortment. So we have up to size 2XL in store and up to size 4XL online. And so we've marketed this or promoted this through a press campaign to let our customers know that we have this offering, and of course, announcing the partnership that we forged with Tess. And we've also leveraged social media to tell the story. And it's really easy to find the offerings that you're looking for just by going to the H&M website. Along with that, I wanted to share that we launched our content studio in the US in Los Angeles in 2022. To your question about models and images, yes, we have to make sure that those are locally relevant as well. And so I mentioned earlier that in order to be relevant in the US, we must have a larger offering of sizes and curvier fits. And so we have to make sure that those images are also shown on the US website. So this content studio enables us to capture the imagery, both in size and racial and ethnic diversity, so that we can allow customers to see themselves in the brand.
Yeah, that's what I was going to follow up with, that, customers being able to see themselves reflected in the brand, whether it be, online or through, other ways that they're engaging, social and in store, not just size inclusivity, but to your point, racial and ethnic diversity as well. It's really a holistic approach that you've put into place at H&M.
Yeah, so we know that there is a business imperative for the commitment that we've made. We know that the marketplace is changing in the US from a race and ethnicity standpoint, but we also know that customers have different expectations of brands than perhaps they once did. This is particularly true of Gen Z, which is our core customer for now, right now, I should say, and for the future. This is why, another reason why this is so important in terms of the whole piece about customers being able to see themselves. Increasingly, this is a determinant for how customers are making decisions about how they want to engage with brands.
Yeah, that alignment of values and inclusivity is so important to your point in terms of how consumers are making purchase decisions. There's so many options out there that if they feel like their values don't align with your brand, they can certainly go elsewhere. So it makes a lot of sense. And something I want to get back to is, and I mentioned this earlier, as part of this expansion of extended sizes, H&M announced a partnership with the founder, activist, and model Tess Holliday, who's going to serve as the size and inclusivity consultant to H&M. So tell us a little bit about why Tess is the right partner for this initiative and how you think she can help further the brand's progress in this area.
Yeah, so we are absolutely thrilled to be working with Tess in this way. We've had a relationship with her for quite a number of years. She's been a model in previous global campaigns, and she actually modeled for us a couple of years back, and she gave us some straightforward feedback about the availability of some of the campaign pieces and extended sizing or lack thereof. And this led us to develop an even stronger relationship with Tess through ongoing conversations with her and a commitment to making some changes to address the concerns that she raised. And I would say that we knew that she was the right partner for us because it's not enough to be sitting in the office making decisions without the perspective of those who are impacted by your decisions. Having the right voices around the table, if you will, is a way to ensure true inclusion. So Tess's counsel is and will continue to help us develop our extended size assortment and ensure that we're doing it in the right way that really reflects this customer.
And Tess's involvement, it's really not just on a superficial level, as you talk about. She's in conversation, I guess, with multiple teams and within the organization. It seems like merchant and product teams might be part of what she's helping to influence, maybe marketing as well. Tell us a little bit about how Tess can really be not only the face of this movement, but also really in the day-to-day details and involved in making and helping influence decisions as well.
Well, as I said, Joe, it's really about ensuring or guiding us in making decisions in the right way. We want the offerings to be authentic. Um, you know, Tess is even talking with me on a regular basis in inclusion and diversity, which is something that is also near and dear to her heart. But I mean, things like how to scale up a garment. It's not enough to just make a bigger size. There are kind of fit and kind of tailoring considerations that you have to make as well. So the guidance that she's been giving us, even in terms of how garments are being worn by models, she's advising us on every aspect of that.
So, as you're thinking about some of the different things you're doing within your role and planning to do as you remain committed to being a diverse and inclusive brand at H&M, talk a little bit about how you maintain accountability. You know, it's great to have these initiatives and kind of put them out there, but you want to follow up and make sure that you're accountable to what you're saying you're going to do. Talk about how you're achieving that at H&M.
Sure. Well, first of all, Joe, inclusion and diversity is called out as a foundational anchor of our 3-year business strategy for the Americas region. And that reflects the knowledge that we really can't have ongoing relevance, as I mentioned before, as a brand without a focus on inclusion. So, we start with driving a culture of inclusion internally, ensuring that all of our colleagues see themselves from a standpoint of representation. We also want to make sure that they have a strong sense of belonging and belief in H&M as a place where they can grow and build a career. I mentioned before that the marketplace is changing and the customer expectations are changing. So we see this commitment as not simply a nice thing to do or an example of corporate goodwill, but it is an absolute business imperative. And like any other initiative or function within the company, this means we have to establish KPIs to mark our progress, as well as identify opportunities for continued growth. And those KPIs that we have for I&D are going to be used in terms of how we hold ourselves accountable. So, this includes things like measuring the response of our customers to these offerings. Of course, sales is a huge part of that. Customer feedback in terms of how the extended size offerings affect or enhance customer perception of H&M as a brand. And we'll continue to evaluate markers like this to evolve the offerings. So, this is not like a one-time deal. This is something that we'll continue to build on, as well as introduce other customer-centric, locally relevant product offerings that enhance the experience that customers have of inclusion with the brand.
So how do you make that more than just what you and your team are doing? Inclusion and diversity. Obviously, you're the head of this team for the Americas region, but H&M is it's a global organization. How do you filter that messaging down from what you and your team are doing, and other similar teams in other areas of the world to even the store level? It's like I said, the breadth of the organization, and make that everyone's job, that they're thinking about inclusion and diversity as part of their day-to-day as well.
Well, that is exactly right, Joe. So I mentioned that this is a foundational element of our strategic plan for the next 3 years and into the future. And we have a theme or a tagline around inclusion and diversity, and that is inclusion and diversity by design. meaning that inclusion and diversity is not a set of priorities that are kind of a bolt-on or exist somewhere in the organization, or that my team and I are the only ones that are responsible for it. That indicates that we expect that I&D is woven into everything that we do, how we make decisions about the business and the like. And so we message that at the very highest levels of the organization. So it's not just me that's talking about this commitment. Our president for the Americas region, this is a huge priority and a huge focus for him. So we're talking about it consistently in our meetings with our highest level of leadership. Those messages are being cascaded throughout the organization. And we know that to continue to be relevant going forward, being able to lead inclusively is part of what we will need to do to achieve the vision that we have for inclusion and diversity. So it's really not about me per se. It's really not about this function per se, but it's about bringing everyone kind of into the importance of I&D, making sure that all of our leaders, and in fact, down to the store level, that folks understand that this is a key to our future success and a meaningful activator of our growth as a brand.
I think that's a great note to close on. I think you summed it up perfectly there, Donna. I want to take the opportunity to again thank Donna Dozier Gordon, who is the head of inclusion and diversity for Region Americas for H&M, on joining us on this episode of Total Retail Talks. We discussed H&M's extended size offering in the U.S. And its overall work in terms of inclusion and diversity. So thanks for joining me today, Donna.
Thanks so much, Joe. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.
Shoppers are nice, but buyers are better. That's why KWI developed a modular omnichannel platform that delivers integrated experiences and creates loyal customers. From mobile POS and OMS to inventory management, e-commerce, and more, turn to KWI. Visit kwi.com/TR.